Thank you, Max. I call the July 14th, 2022 701st regular meeting to order. With Chairman Coolidge unable to attend today, I will be acting chair for today's meeting. Thank you all for joining us. We will move directly into agenda item B1A, review, discussion, and possible action on simulcast agreements pursuant to ARS 5112U for Arizona Downs at Albuquerque. I'll turn it over to the department for a summary.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. I did supply and review the contracts, and it is all in order. The division would recommend the 5112U contract be approved for item B1A1 for Arizona Downs.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Any comments or questions from my other commissioners?
No.
No. All right. Hearing none, I'd like to hear a motion if anyone has one for the action item.
Commissioner Olson, I make a motion to approve the simulcast agreement pursuant to ARS Section 5112U for Arizona Downs at Albuquerque.
I second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner French-Contreras and a second by Commissioner York. I will call the roll. Commissioner French-Contreras?
Yes.
Commissioner York?
Yes.
Commissioner Olson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Coolidge? Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. Moving to agenda item B1B1, Turf Paradise. The simulcast agreements pursuant to ARS 5112U, Turf Paradise Downs at Albuquerque. I will turn it over to the department for a summary.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Again, I did supply and review the contracts, and all is in order. The division would recommend the 5112U contract be approved for item B1 for Turf Paradise.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
No.
No.
Would anyone like to make a motion?
Commissioner Olson, I make a motion to approve item B1B Turf Paradise simulcast agreement pursuant to ARS 5112U Downs at Albuquerque.
I second the motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner French-Contreras and a second by Commissioner York. I will call the roll. Commissioner French-Contreras?
Yes.
Commissioner York?
Yes.
Commissioner Olson?
Yes.
And Commissioner Coolidge? Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. We'll be moving to agenda item B2A, simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3 for Arizona Downs at Albuquerque. I'll turn it over to the department for any updates on the required documentation.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Just a quick update on this one. Under B2A1 for Arizona Downs on the analysis, it shows that the item is still missing the host commission and the host horseman approvals. Since your approval, the 5112U contract was already approved. We don't need that one. Also, on the anticipated dates for this item, there is a typo. It should go through October 1st, not September 1st, as provided on the analysis sheet. The division would also make sure that to collect all documents for this item before we give them permission to turn on their signals. But the division would recommend that item 1 for Arizona Downs be conditionally approved pending the rest of the documents being received from the permittee.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Any questions or comments from my fellow commissioners?
No.
No.
Outstanding. I'll make a motion to approve item B2A, simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3, conditionally approve that item given that the department receives all the requisite documents, and empower the department to act so that the licensee sees no further delay for the dates July 30th, 2022 through October 1st, 2022.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Olson and a second by Commissioner French Contreras. I will call the roll. Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner York. Commissioner York, you may be muted. Commissioner York, are you with us? It looks like she is muted. We may need to wait for her to rejoin or unmute her microphone.
Could you please repeat that? My sound cut out.
Sure. Do you need the motion repeated or
Commissioner Olson, it may, Commissioner York may, just in case you didn't hear, it may be smart to repeat the motion so she is aware.
Sure. Okay. So the motion on the table is to conditionally approve item B2A, simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3, conditioned upon the department receiving all the requisite documentation and empowering the department to act so that the licensee sees no further delay once those documents are received, and for the dates July 30th, 2022 through October 1st, 2022.
I second that. My apologies. I'm having a sound issue.
I have a motion by Commissioner Olson and a second by Commissioner York. I will call the roll. Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
and Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
and Commissioner Coolidge. Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you. We'll be moving to agenda item B2B, simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to IHA section 3004A3 for Turf Paradise down to Albuquerque. I'll turn it over to the department for an update.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Under B2B1 for Turf Paradise, item 1 is now complete since your approval of the 5112U contract, which you just approved. So the division would recommend that item 1 for Turf Paradise be approved.
Thank you, Mr. Duncan. Any questions or comments or motions from my fellow commissioners?
No, thank you.
Okay, with that, I will make a motion to conditionally approve agenda item B2B, simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to, not conditionally approved, my apologies. I'm going to make a motion to approve agenda item B2B for Turf Paradise simulcast horse racing import signals pursuant to IHA signal section 3004A3 for Downs at Albuquerque for dates July 30th, 2022 through October 1st, 2022.
I second that.
Looks like Commissioner York gotcha.
That's good.
I will call the roll. Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
Commissioner York,
Yes.
and Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
and Commissioner Coolidge. Thank you. That motion passes.
Thank you, everyone. We'll move into section C of our agenda, agenda item C1, track safety reports, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Gale for an update.
Thank you, Chair Olson, Commissioners. I'd like to take a little bit of time since this meeting, it looks like we have a chance to cover some aspects of the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority. Commissioner Olson had asked for some information a couple of meetings ago, and I think it would be worthwhile for our new commissioners. So a federal law went into effect in December of 2020 called the Horseracing Integrity and Safety Act. That created the Horseracing Integrity and Safety Authority. So I'll refer to that as HISA, H-I-S-A. And rules were developed. There's two main programs within HISA. There's a safety program, and then there's also a anti-doping program. The safety program has rules that were approved last March, and the program went into effect regarding thoroughbreds only July 1st of 2022, so just this past week. Yeah, the anti-doping program, those rules are under review. That program is set to go into place January of 2023. So the essence of the Horse Racing Integrity and Safety Authority is to establish consistent nationwide rules regarding safety and anti-doping in thoroughbred horse racing. Just a note, it does not cover quarter horse racing. That national group of quarter horse associations decided not to participate, as well as harness racing. But any racetrack that has thoroughbred horse racing is obligated to comply with these rules. The authority does offer states the opportunity to enter into agreements regarding some of the enforcement of these rules. At this time, Arizona does not have an agreement with HISA. Without a state agreement, the responsibility for enforcing the rules falls to the individual racetracks. Again, this program is modeled after a program that the National Thoroughbred Racing Association had in place to accredit tracks maintaining best practices and safety. And so this program is modeled after that. There's basically four aspects of the program regarding safety for the jockeys. There are two rules, the concussion protocol rule, as well as a whip use rule. For the horses, there's a rules regarding pre-race inspections, which we actually do have a rule regarding that in this state, as well as having post-mortem exams done on any horses that are euthanized or die at the track, and to have a committee set up that reviews any of these injuries or incidents to try and assess possible contributing factors and remedies for those. The third section is regards to the track surface and the safety features of the racetrack. The racetrack is mandated to keep records of maintenance and surface conditions. And then lastly, there's rules that apply to responsible persons. These include trainers as well as veterinarians in terms of keeping records on the horses that then can go with the horses as they move on to different owners or trainers. So this is federal law, and I welcome any questions anyone has about HISA before I move on to the rest of my report.
No questions for me, Dr. Gale. Thank you for the update.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Gale.
Okay, then the second part, again, I want to reinforce that prevention of injuries to horses and jockeys or anyone involved in horse racing, that is a shared goal among the horsemen, the horse racing tracks, as well as regulators. And we all have a duty to help prevent especially catastrophic injuries. And again, that involves proper care and maintenance of the track, veterinarians taking proper care of the horses, trainers managing their horses, as well as how the jockeys ride the horses. Over the past 12 months, so between July 1st of 2021 through June 30th of 2022, at all Arizona racetracks, there have been a total of 55 horses that have died or been euthanized on our tracks. That breaks down to 12 that suffered injuries during training, 16 that either had illness-related problems or accidents on the backside, and then 27 horses that suffered injuries during races. Of those racing injuries, 7 were quarter horses and 20 were thoroughbreds. That brings the state rate, which is calculated on number of thoroughbred fatalities per 1,000 thoroughbred starts for this past 12-month period to 2.56. That compares to the previous 12-month period at 2.54. We did have a couple of other incidents on July 2nd at Arizona Downs. That'll be included then again in next month's report. And just as a note on that, the track did make a decision, and hopefully they'll make a report to you about canceling the second 5 races. There were 10 races that day, and after race 5, the remaining races were canceled for that day. There were a number of things I think that, and on my part, I can mention the next race day, myself and Dr. Butler, she's the track veterinarian, examined. We identified about 15 horses that were considered high risk, either due to vet list history, age, performance, number of factors that contribute a risk of injury in horses. And the 2 of us examined those high risk horses together. And of the 15 that were high risk, we did scratch 3. Again, that day we had no incidents, and this past weekend, again, no incidents. So again, taking a little more aggressive approach at identifying horses that may be at higher risk is one helpful step, and there's several others. Again, as I mentioned, everybody has a role in this, in preventing injuries, and not just catastrophic, but just general injuries to horses. Again, I'd be happy to take any questions regarding my report.
Thank you, Dr. Gale. Very informative. I'll open it to my other commissioners if they have any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Gale, for that. I did have one question regarding the safety committee that you mentioned in the February 22nd meeting of this year. I wanted to know if you could just spend a few minutes, talk a little bit about that committee, what its purpose is, how often it meets, and you also had referenced a report. And I wanted to know how often that report is issued. Is it only after your post-mortem exams? Who gets that report?
Okay, very good. Thank you for that question. Regarding the safety committee, again, there's not actually a rule within Arizona code regarding review of these catastrophic injuries. However, over the past couple of years, we did implement that program. And generally, the members of that program include the regulatory vet. We try to include the track veterinarian also, racetrack management, horseman's representative, the trainer of the horse, as well as track maintenance. So pretty much, again, everybody I've identified that has a role in preventing injuries. And the purpose, again, is to look at every aspect, whether there was a change in the track surface, maybe due to rain, what was the past history of the horse that may have identified it as an at-risk horse. Again, any information on treatment from the attending veterinarians. Every bit of information we can try to find out is discussed in these committee meetings. Again, under HISA, there is a provision also for a safety committee that, in the case of thoroughbreds, is required to review these injuries. Generally, the review is done after the post-mortem exams come back. So again, we're waiting on the thoroughbred that did just break down on July 2nd. It takes about 2 weeks from the time of submission to the lab for the report to come back. Again, the idea of these meetings is to try to evaluate the situation, see if there's any changes in conditions that might create higher risk, and also, again, identify steps that can be taken to reduce that risk regarding those conditions. In regards to the report, the last published report, I believe, was from 2018. A report was written in 2020. I'm not sure if that's been publicly available. And again, there was this started as a breakthrough project to try to reduce injuries in the state of Arizona 5 years ago. And so all these steps have been part of that project. There's been a review report of the project written, I believe, upper management in the Division of or Department of Gaming is reviewing that report. I can't say what whether that'll be published publicly available.
Thank you, Dr. Go.
Outstanding. Thank you, Dr. Gale. We, as always, appreciate your report.
Thank you.
We'll move next to action item, or excuse me, agenda item C2, budget report from the Department Director Castillas or Mr. LaForest.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. This is Jason LaForest, CFO of the Department of Gaming. We currently this week are working to close out our books for the last fiscal year. When that's accomplished before by the next commission meeting, I'll be able to give you a detailed report on our performance of the last fiscal year, as well as what available resources have been added for the new fiscal year going forward. That being said, I have no concerns regarding financial performance of the agency at this time.
Thank you, Mr. LaForest. Any questions from my fellow commissioners? Okay.
No.
We'll move to agenda item C3, report on International Horse Racing Integrity Act. Mr. Guessman?
Yes, Commissioner Olson, fellow commissioners and staff. The National HBPA on June 29th filed a temporary restraining order to try and halt HISA's implementation. We did not get an immediate stoppage. However, the judge is going to set a hearing. He's asked for a response from HISA today, July 14th. And then we have 7 days to respond to their response. And after that, after those responses are issued or sent in to the judge, then he will set a hearing date for a temporary restraining order. Also on June 29th, a third lawsuit was filed. It was filed by the state of Louisiana, the state of West Virginia, the Louisiana Racing Commission, the Louisiana HBPA, and finally the Jockey Guild joined in on a lawsuit to try, and they also have asked for a temporary restraining order on HISA. So we're waiting, as now we have 3 lawsuits trying to stop HISA. We're just playing all 3 of them out in court and see what happens. As far as the implementation on HISA, up here at Arizona Downs, so far we've only had 1 trainer race a horse that was not registered. That trainer will receive a notification from HISA saying he's not in compliance and give him some options to either comply or his penalties will be enforced. I would say overall the implementation has gone fairly well. We haven't really had a lot of issues up to this point. We do have 2 or 3 rules that are totally different from the Arizona rules. The one major one that affects the horsemen is the whip rule, and
Mr. Guessman, it looks like your audio and
So
video.
far, the jockeys have adhered to it. I did see in the national news this morning, there's been 3 or 4 cases.
There we go. We can hear
It's
you now.
still there. Okay. I was talking about the whip rule. So far, in talking to the HISA rep, Mr. Stiles, we have not had any issues with jockeys, but in the national news today, there's been 4 or 5 cases across the United States where owners have lost their purse money because the jockeys violated the whip rule. So those are playing out in those jurisdictions. The other rule is the claiming rule. That's the big difference. We did have a claim voided the other day, and I really haven't heard the results of what's going to happen. HISA voided the claim, and state law says we're not supposed to void claims, so we're still waiting to hear the results of that. That pretty much concludes my report. If you have any questions, be glad to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Guessman. Any questions from my fellow commissioners?
No, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Guessman.
No questions. Thank you, Mr. Guessman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we will move to agenda item C4, permitting reports. We'll start with American Greyhound Racing. Hearing none, we'll move to Arizona Downs.
Thank you, Chairman Olson and Commissioners York and French Contreras. This is Tom Author. I'm going to speak for a minute, then I'm going to turn it over to Mike Weiss. Couple thank yous. One, I appreciate the 2 new commissioners, York and French Contreras, coming up and touring the track with me, just as Chairman Olson did. I think that's very helpful for all of us to kind of see what's going on. You're obviously all welcome to come up to the live meet. I would like to make special mention of the tremendous work that vets Gale and Butler are doing. It's extremely difficult, and they've really done an excellent job. We had a couple incidents, and I think this more aggressive review of the horses will help that. Another been a bit of a help too is Rory Goray. He has helped us with some of the paperwork, which is an important part of analyzing what kind of condition these horses are in, you know, where they've come from, that sort of thing. So he's been a big help also. We did have a little bit of an incident on last Saturday. We immediately called in Steve Wood, who's the HBPA's track specialist. He came over and said the track's fine. You don't need to do anything to it. Since that time, we've had 28 races, and we haven't had a hangnail. So that's really all I have to report. And again, I would like to thank Drs. Gale and Butler for their efforts, and I'll turn this over to Mike Weiss. Thank you.
Good morning. This is Mike Weiss with Arizona Downs, and good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I just want to make a quick note that the meet has started out on a really good note. We had a very nice crowd, both opening day and the 4th of July. Every table up in the clubhouse was sold out. We did have a little burst of weather a week ago, which caused the track to be a bit uncomfortable. So we met with the jockeys, and for safety's sake, we did cancel partial of the card. We did, of course, jump right back in with a fan appreciation day, a free admission day, Saturday, which was very successful, free tip sheet, which people really enjoyed getting some information. So we're going to continue giving that out too. As they explained, we've had an interesting start with HISA, and I won't need to go into that at this point with everybody else getting that. But in the same light as I've continued in Arizona, we are still working with students and feel that we are an integral part of training and helping with the careers. So Arizona Downs has jumped right in. Our paddock show, if you look at our paddock show, is a racetrack industry program, University of Arizona student, and an ASU student doing the TV show. Working with Cody Photography, we have an RTIP student. We have an RTIP student in the racing office, and all of our social media is being done by a racetrack industry program student. We did have an instructor from the College from U of A here on Monday, taking a tour, and we are working on an official internship with the school for another student to be coming over from the racetrack industry program. So I just want to thank everybody. It was a great start. Thanks for all the cooperation and help. Really big thanks to Dr. Butler and the cooperation and teamwork with her and Dr. Gale. I think we're moving forward positively. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Arthur and Mr. Weiss, for those updates. Glad to hear it's going well. Any other questions from my fellow commissioners?
No, thank you very much.
All right,
No questions.
moving to county fairs. Rialto Park. Mr. Weiss, did you have a report for Rialto? Okay, Tucson Greyhound Park. And Turf Paradise.
Chairwoman Olson, Commissioners, I have no report to give at this time. However, if the commission has questions, I would be happy to answer any of them.
Thank you for that. This is Commissioner French Contreras. I don't have any questions.
No questions on my end.
Great, thank you so much, everyone. All right, just wanted to give a moment to see if anybody's mics weren't working from any of the other permittees. Okay. And I see a comment from Roy Gurway that Tucson Greyhound Park closed their doors last month. All right, moving to agenda item C5, optional industry stakeholder association updates. We'll start with Arizona Counties Racing Association. Hearing none, we'll go to Arizona Quarter Horse Racing Association. Arizona Thoroughbred Breeders Association. HBPA.
Yes, Commissioner Olson. Again, Leroy Gussman, Commissioner French Gutierrez, and Commissioner York. I just wanted to kind of follow up on a couple of things that have been stated in the meeting. First of all, on Mr. Arthur's report, we did ask Steve Woods to come in and look at the track. Mr. Woods thought the track was in very good shape. However, he did give a couple of recommendations to the maintenance crew on continued maintenance projects that would extremely help the track. And so far, it appears track Superintendent Vic Olson is following those recommendations. I would hope he would continue that. The other thing I wanted to mention on Dr. Gale's report, the safety committee, since the pandemic started, the safety committee has pretty much disappeared. I would really like to see the safety committee get back on a regular meeting basis and again start meeting with the trainers on the these horses. I thought that was a very important thing we did. And I'd like to see that reinstated and going again now the pandemic is where it is. The other thing I just mentioned, the HPPA has had some initial discussions with Turf Paradise about the winter meet, and hopefully all that moves forward well. I have nothing else unless you have questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gesson. No questions for myself, but I'll open up to the other commissioners.
No questions. Thank you for your report.
All right,
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move now to the Jockeys Guild. Okay, I don't hear anything from the Jockeys Guild, and I see Mr. Weiss, you've raised your hand. Is this requesting potentially go back to a agenda item?
If that's possible, Madam Commissioner, I was booted and lost signal here, so I'd like to just give the short report on Rito.
Sure, unless our council has a reason that you can't go back to agenda item C4D, I see no reason why you can't proceed.
Thank you.
I don't see any reason either, Commissioner Olson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Make this quickly, as there's not a whole lot to say, during the off season, but Rito just keeps plugging away. Mark Van Buren, who came from the upper echelon of the services industry, was not only integral in helping make the last season a success in the outlook of both the horsemen and the patrons alike. He has stayed on during the off season, not sitting idle. He's full-time and working to clean, service, maintain, and continue to upgrade the facility. Also working closely with Pima County officials at the time. They're working with a division of Global Tote to relaunch a Queen of Hearts nonprofit fundraiser, which I believe can raise significant money prior to the racing season. Rito has also retained CRIMS, which is doing the settlement services for them. They're a national settlement agency and also a professional accounting service. So let's just say that Mark's help and the organization is on a very positive path. And like Arizona Downs, we're still maintaining a close relationship with the University of Arizona for the RTIP, the pre-vet, and journalism students. Thank you for allowing me to step back in.
Of course, thank you, Mr. Weiss, for the update. Any questions from my fellow commissioners? Hearing none, we'll move to agenda item D, Commission Reports. D1, summary of current events affecting the Racing Commission from either members or director. And Director Casillas, I welcome you to update us.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Olson. Just an update for next month's commission meeting. We will be presenting 3 ADWs that have applied for conducting business in the state of Arizona. That'll be Premier Turf Club, Amwest Entertainment, and Bet Makers, an affiliate of Global Tote. So those will be forthcoming. We're still in the process of doing our own due diligence, and we will provide the additional information as that comes forth. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Director Casillas. Any other current events from my fellow commissioners? Hearing none, we'll move to D2, identification of matters to be placed on future agendas. I'd like to make the request that we put the appointment of a vice chair on our future agenda for the September agenda, if possible. Anything from my other fellow commissioners?
No, I have nothing.
Commissioner Olson, we will definitely put that on the September agenda.
Thank you, Director Casillas. All right, that will take us to agenda item E, call to the public. I believe we have one person on our request to speak, Mr. Imbernoni.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. This is Brian Imbernoni. I represent TP Racing, doing business as Turf Paradise. As the Commission is aware, Turf Paradise has requested approval to operate an OTB at Padre Murphy's. Arizona Downs has objected based upon its OTB agreement with the prior owner. The Commission has instructed the parties to resolve this objection on their own. We are respectfully requesting the Commission to reconsider that decision. Director Casillas did not want to put this on the agenda without the Commission's approval. So we are here asking that our request for reconsideration be placed on the agenda for next month. We are asking for reconsideration because there are practical and legal problems with the commission's decision. We were told to resolve Arizona Downs objections by mediation, arbitration, or court order. Arizona Downs has refused our requests to arbitrate or mediate. So we have tried to comply with the commission's decision by filing a lawsuit. That case was filed in the Maricopa County Superior Court in April, and we now have Arizona Downs' answer and their initial disclosure statement. Arizona Downs argues that the Superior Court can't hear the case. They argue that Turf Paradise has no standing because it's not a party to Arizona Downs' OTB agreement with the prior owner. They argue that the court can't reach a binding decision unless we join the commission as a party to the action and join several other parties to the lawsuit. These defenses in the Superior Court action point out the problem with the.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Mr. Imbrignoni. Madam Chair, this is Director Vogt. May I be heard?
Sure, Director Vogt.
All right. I believe that the request to the commission is to place this matter on the next meeting. I think we're kind of beginning to get into the presentation of the case. So I'll ask the AG if they're on their opinion of that.
Yes. Good morning. This is Lena Kalkbrenner, the Assistant Attorney General for the Commission. I would say that the Commission can limit Mr. Imbornoni's time if they like, and there will be no discussion on this matter. The only thing the Commission can do at this point is decide whether or not they want to place it on the next agenda.
Thank you, Ms. Kalkbrenner. Mr. Imbornoni, I haven't been timing you, but our call to public are typically limited. So if you could wrap it up in about a minute, that would be great.
Yes, we were advised by Director Casillas that the proper way to proceed would be to go with a call to the public and to request the commission to put this on an agenda. I was providing our reasoning why we believe that this is appropriate for reconsideration. We are forced to file declaratory judgment action under the best of circumstances. That won't be resolved until mid 2023. With appeals, it could take another year or longer. With respect, we submit that the commission should perform its statutory function and decide the merits of Arizona Downs' objection. I'm prepared to discuss the merits of those, but if I'm requested otherwise, I'll simply request that reconsideration be granted so that the commission at least hear our concerns about whether the Superior Court litigation is going to provide a proper and adequate resolution of the pending application for OTB request and the objections to that request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Imbornoni. There will be no discussion on that matter because it's not an agendized item, but we thank you for bringing this to the attention of the commission. I don't see anybody else on my list of requests to speak, but I do see that Mr. Author has raised his hand, so I'll allow you to speak. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chairwoman Olson. I just wanted to clarify, I personally made several offers to arbitrate directly to the owner, Padre Murphy's. Those were all ignored, and the next thing that happened was we were served with a lawsuit from Turf Paradise. We started to respond to that lawsuit, including submitting who we wanted to depose, and shortly thereafter, we got an offer from them to arbitrate. So, having spent the money and time and the effort on preparing a lawsuit, they now decided they want to arbitrate. So, you know, that's the lawsuit's moving along quickly. We're not going to stall, but you know, since we're going down that path, my feeling is we should stick with it. And I do agree with what what Director Vogt said, this doesn't seem like a call to the public comment. This seems like an effort on the part of Turf Paradise that should be better left in some other part of these agendas. This is not a call to the public. But anyway, I just want to clarify that we wanted to arbitrate initially and they sued us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alfred. Unless Ms. Kalkbrenner has any other comments, I believe we can close our call to the public.
I do not, Commissioner Olson. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move next to agenda item F, announcements. The next regularly scheduled commission meeting will be at 10 a.m. on Thursday, August 11th, 2022 at 100 North 15th Avenue, Suite 202, Phoenix, Arizona. I believe it will also be available via Google Meet, but I'll allow the commission to correct me if someone from the department to correct me if that's wrong. And with that, I would hear a motion to adjourn.
Actually, Commissioner Olson, I'd like to make a motion to go into an executive session.
Sure, I'll second that.
Thank you.
You have a motion by Commissioner French Contreras and a second by Commissioner Olson to enter into executive session. I will call the roll. Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and Commissioner York,
Yes.
and Commissioner Coolidge. Thank you. That motion passes. The time is 11:17 and we will enter an executive session. Looks like all commissioners are in attendance. Commissioner Olson, would you like me to call roll?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. The time is 11:27, and I will call roll for our second open session. Commissioner Olson,
Present?
Commissioner French Contreras,
Here.
Commissioner York,
Here.
Commissioner Coolidge. Thank you, and we will resume open session.
Thank you. Max?
Thank you. If I could interrupt, Commissioner Olson, staff, I'd like to place on the August agenda the matter of the reconsideration of TP Racing's off-track betting application.
Right, if the department could note that.
Well, yes, we'll note that.
Thank you. Outstanding.
Just Madam Chair, for clarification, is this for discussion or how?
For discussion
Thank you very much.
and possible action.
Thank you. We'll mark that down.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Unless there are any other further comments, I'll hear a motion for adjournment.
I'll make
Motion to,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
sorry, motion to adjourn.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner York and a second by Commissioner French Contreras to adjourn. I will call the roll. Commissioner York,
Yes.
Commissioner French Contreras,
Yes.
Commissioner Olson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Coolidge. Thank you. The time is 11:29 a.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.